Amber is doing this, she's pushing her knees out. The reason this is a great glute exercise is because aside from getting hip extension, by pushing the knees out, you are also getting abduction of the femur and you're also getting external rotation of the femur. So you are targeting the three main actions of the gluteus maximus. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm joined by Amber, and we are going to be sharing with you my top 5 glute exercises. With regard to the glute exercises, before we get into them, what exactly do the glutes do? For that, I'm going to have Amber turn around. We're going to get into the anatomy of the glutes. The gluteus maximus muscle, which is the muscle that we are going to be targeting today, it attaches from the posterior superior iliac crest via the thoracolumbar fascia. It also attaches to the posterolateral sacrum, the coccyx, and it inserts into the gluteal tuberosity of the femur. With regard to the gluteus maximus muscle, it has 3 main actions at the hip. At the hip, it's going to be responsible for extension of the hip, abduction of the hip with regard to the superior fibers. The inferior fibers are going to be responsible for adduction, and then the entire gluteus maximus muscle is going to be responsible for external or lateral rotation. So anytime you're doing anything that involves extension, abduction, or external rotation, you are targeting your gluteus maximus muscle. And I'm going to have Amber turn back around now. With regard to the gluteus maximus muscle, the top 5 exercises, these are in no particular order, but the number 1 exercise, this is a classic, and it is going to be the deep squat. With regard to the deep squat, I'm going to just have Amber do a few squats for you guys. What you want? Yeah, we're just going to do some regular squats. For the deep squat, you want to get as low as you can while maintaining a neutral spine. So at the bottom of the squat position, I'm going to have Amber turn to the side so you can kind of see. But you want to squat as low as you can without hinging forward at your hips. So for Amber, that's a little bit too low. I want her to go, so she's going to squat down, and right around there is where she's going to stop. Once she gets to that level, she's able to maintain her torso parallel or higher to her shins, and she doesn't get that butt wink. She doesn't end up going into a posterior pelvic tilt. If you go too low, you're going to get that butt wink, which is a posterior pelvic tilt, and that could create a little bit of pressure on the lumbar spine, so you want to avoid that. But that's pretty much it for the number 1 exercise. The second exercise is going to be the front foot elevated backward step lunge. The reason that I really love this exercise for the glutes is because, as I stated earlier, the main action of the gluteus maximus muscle is going to be hip extension. Your gluteus maximus, it is the most powerful hip extensor in the body. So as you can see, when Amber gets to the bottom position of the backward step lunge with her foot elevated, she is able to get more flexion in the hip. By generating more flexion in the hip, what's going to happen is you're going to create a lot more myofascial tension on the posterior aspect of the hip. And the more myofascial tension that you can create, the more muscle activation you are going to get from the gluteus maximus muscle. But that is the second exercise. That is the front foot elevated backward step lunge. The third exercise is going to be the step back curtsy lunge. For the step back curtsy lunge, we're just going to move this box out of the way. And it is essentially the exact same action that we were doing with the backward step lunge. The only difference with the curtsy lunge is that you are going to cross your leg over. The reason that I love this one for the glutes is because, again, aside from hip extension, one of the actions of the glutes is also hip abduction. So when you end up doing the curtsy lunge, you're crossing the leg over, and you are using your adductors and abductors of the hip in order to get back into that neutral position. So remember, the superior fibers of the gluteus maximus are responsible for hip abduction, and then the inferior fibers are going to be responsible for hip adduction. I'm just going to have Amber now do it a couple more times from the front. That way you can see exactly how it looks. So you are just stepping backward and crossing over. A couple things worth noting with this exercise is the forward knee. You want to try and maintain it right over your toes. So you don't want the knee caving in too much, and you don't want it coming out to the side too much. You want to try and keep it stacked up over the actual foot. But that is the step back curtsy lunge. Exercise number 4, this is going to be the sumo deadlift. With regard to the sumo deadlift, this one right over here, you want to take a wide stance when you are performing the sumo deadlift. So I'm going to get Amber situated. You want your feet pointing out. So you want a roughly 45 degrees of external rotation in the femur. And I'm just going to have Amber go ahead and bring the bar nice and close to her body, and then she's just going to pull. When you are doing the sumo deadlift, you want to maintain the abduction and external rotation in the femur by pressing your knees out toward your backside. So when Amber is doing this, she's pushing her knees out. The reason this is a great glute exercise is because aside from getting hip extension, by pushing the knees out, you are also getting abduction of the femur, and you're also getting external rotation of the femur. So you are targeting the 3 main actions of the gluteus maximus muscle. Now I'm going to have Amber do this one more time from the side. That way you guys can see exactly what it looks like from the side. But as with the other exercises, you want to maintain a neutral position of the spine when you are performing this exercise. So Amber's just going to lower it down to the ground, maintaining a nice tall spine. So you want your spine either parallel or higher to your shins. Another thing worth noting with the sumo deadlift is you want to maintain your chin tucked in and your crown of the head up. So a lot of people, when they deadlift, they will tend to, at the bottom position, look up, and that's going to create a lot of compression in the cervical spine. So you want to make sure that when you are doing the sumo deadlift, your spine is in a neutral position. And this brings us to our last exercise. Number 5, this is last but not least, this is the high box step up. With regard to the high box step up, you would like to get a box that allows you to be on the toes of your bottom leg. If you don't have the strength to do that, then you could work your way up to it, but I'm gonna have Amber go ahead and she's going to place one foot on the box. And then from this position over here, you want to get your body as close to the box as possible, and you want to try, perfect. And she's going to lift up and then come all the way back down.
It's hard, guys.
Ideally, you want to work up to this. So if you're unable to do it, you would lower the box a little bit. So for Amber, this is a little bit too high. For Amber, this is a little bit too high. We would want to get a smaller box. So I'll quickly demonstrate it for you guys. But basically, what you're doing with the high box step up is you would want your bottom leg to be on your toes, so you're getting really, really high. Your knee should be above your greater trochanter. And another reason why this is really good, as with the backward step lunge, you are getting a lot more flexion in the hip in the bottom position, which means you're going to get a lot more myofascial tension in the posterior chain. And by getting more myofascial tension, you're going to activate more muscle fibers. But for this one over here, you're standing up, and then you want to come back down to the floor. And that is the high box step up. Those are pretty much it for the 5 exercises. If you are trying to build up your glutes, get them stronger, try these 5 exercises, but that's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.